Is ready?
Wait.
Uh-oh.
Just had the shock. Just get shocked.
We're live. Okay.
All right.
How are you talking in? Go ahead and talk
Go
in the
ahead,
mic
yeah.
again.
Can you hear me?
Nope. No, it's not you. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
We have to.
I'm gonna have to sit up. I guess I can't slouch.
I know, unfortunately.
Is this not a better mic or not?
It's not. It's for some reason they're gonna throw it in the garbage. Okay, we are live on YouTube.
Okay, you ripped this off from the karaoke lounge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, guys, ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Well, welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for a 5-pack tanning certificate. Give it away during the show. That certificate's not sponsored by the radio station, but by Tan Bella Tanning Salon, with 2 locations in San Francisco and 1 in Marin. Today's trivia theme is corruption and shadiness in the movies. We'll have a little fun with that. Before we get into our special guest, Mark, there's a few things you wanted to cover.
Yeah, well, what we have in store for listeners today, our show is going to be really great. I've got 3 things to talk about. Number 1, 4 home improvements that surprisingly don't add value. And then also this week, the Case-Shiller Home Price Index was released, and you might be surprised which city for the first time this year is leading home price appreciation. And last but not least, I brought in an 11-page article, which I promised not to read,
Okay.
but it's titled Recession Fears Rising, How Housing Prices Will Hold Up. And I'm going to dovetail some of the things that are said in this article with an event that I just attended this past week, where I heard a kind of little bit of gloom and doom scenario in the upcoming years. And I'll share that with you later.
All right. Should we go ahead and introduce our guest?
Let's do it.
All right. So we have a mortgage broker, Chris Davis from Guaranteed Rate, joining us here at The Best of Investing. Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for having me.
All right. So now you've got a few things you want to share with us.
Well, I was thinking about some of those questions that I get on a daily basis, and I brought that information to share with you all. Things like cross-collateralization,
Okay.
asset depletion, among other things. I think that'll pique some interest, and I'm happy
So
to share.
wait a minute. Borrowers call you and ask you about asset depletion? I don't even
Well,
know.
I should say, no, my borrowers certainly don't do that, but my referral partners do, because
okay.
they want somebody with a cape to come in and say,
Yeah.
hey, listen, my customer doesn't have any income, and I need them to buy a house, or they
You
want
better-
to buy a house.
You better define asset depletion. I know what cross-collateralization is, and I think a lot of our listeners do, but asset depletion is kind of an interesting combination
Yeah,
of words.
it's a formulaic way to create income based on someone's assets, and it scales depending on their age. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. But if you think about someone that's retired and
Okay.
has fixed income,
Yep.
Social Security, maybe a pension,
All right.
and they want to buy another house
Yeah.
without first selling their current
Which
house.
we've had a lot of
Right,
those.
we see that a
We
lot,
see a
yeah.
lot of Pacific Private Money, yes.
There are ways to structure financing that enable them to do that. And of course, you guys come into play quite a bit with those scenarios.
Sure.
But there are clever ways to create income that enable people short term to do that. And I'm happy to share that with you. It's not as easy as a W-2 income earner.
Sure.
Now, the backdrop on this, Chris, is that we all know what's happened with mortgage loan origination on the conventional side. It's 12 years ago, anyone who could fog a mirror could get a
So you
a
said-
mortgage, and now we're actually for the last 5 years, ever since the series of Dodd-Frank regulations, the banks have pulled back quite a bit, and I have been noticing now with the refi boom essentially over, because we had multiple troughs in interest rates, and now we're a full percentage point or more higher than the last low. I think conventional lenders and banks, and correct me if I'm wrong, do you see a little bit of loosening up of certain credit programs and credit conditions, or is it just that certain lenders, and maybe ones that you're representing, are actually maybe going back to some formerly tried and true methods of determining eligibility?
Well, first of all, I love that you said, to fog up the mirror, because I say, I put a mirror under your nose and it steams up. 10 years ago, you'd get a mortgage.
Oh, yeah.
And really, I think in the wake of the crash, the pendulum went from the middle to, it went straight over to the right.
Yeah.
and it has taken time for it to settle back down to the middle, and I think we're finally there.
Really? Okay.
I think some reason now Dodd-Frank certainly impacted the ease by which we can secure financing. It's much more scrutinized now, but I think that loosening overall, you can see it.
Yeah.
It is, I think, a little bit more down somewhere in the middle of that pendulum swing, and that's important. I don't need to pull teeth to
Gotcha.
get someone to mortgage.
But we still have issues like ability to repay, which wasn't an issue before. It seemed like, if you just had a good credit score and you lied about your assets, you could get a loan. And now
Yeah.
the ability to repay, which also means ability to demonstrate that you can afford the monthly payments. I mean, I think that's law that's probably not going to go away.
I don't have a problem with ATR.
No.
I actually like that you need, sometimes people argue with me, hey, my house is worth $4 million and I only owe 500. Why can't you give me a loan? So,
Yeah.
well, because you haven't demonstrated your ability to repay.
Yeah. Because the banks aren't in the business of taking over your house.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I think
it seemed like they were a few years ago, but actually it's most people in foreclosure today have been in foreclosure actually for a really long time. Banks are not foreclosing on homes today like they were in the height of the recession.
Gotcha. Tell you what, guys, we are going to cut to our first commercial break here. When we come back, we're going to continue on. Mark, I know, has some really good information to share, and our special guest, Chris, wants to talk. We'll talk about asset depletion a little bit more, too.
Mhm.
All right, so here's our first trivia question. Again, the theme is corruption and shadiness in the movies. If you know the answer, Chris, don't say it until we get back from break. All right. Two young newspaper reporters, Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, go up against Washington's most powerful men to uncover the truth about the Watergate scandal. Their story is told in this excellent 1976 film, All the President's Men. Which two actors portray Woodward and Bernstein? That's our trivia question. Call 888-912-1190. If you're the first caller with the correct answer, you're going to win that free tanning certificate, which is worth over $100. So basically what the question is, in the 1976 film, All the President's Men, which two actors portrayed the two main characters? All right? Don't touch that dial. You're listening to The Best of Investing, and we're going to be right back. Good.
well, that
They
was
go quick.
That
And that
was-
was a short one, 7 minutes.
Yeah, that
I
was
was
too
going
long.
to say that was an easy trivia question. Come on. Man.
Well, we
Yeah.
usually ask, the next one will be, the next two are
I
pretty
never get
easy.
3 out of 3. He won't let me.
I know that you brought up ATR.
And if I get the first 2, he'll like pull the one out of his back pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll never get
Dustin
this one.
Hoffman and
Redford and
Robert
Hoffman.
Redford.
There you go. Very good.
Hell yeah.
They want to make it at least interesting enough for the audience too to go, oh, what's the name of those two guys? That's what
It's so easy to cheat now with your phone and
Yeah,
Google.
exactly.
Yeah.
Instant gratification.
Yeah.
Always.
I'm bummed that those guys are all getting so old. Redford just announced he's
it's
not going to do
terrible.
movies anymore. Sean Connery doesn't do movies anymore.
Yeah.
He hasn't for a while.
Right? Yeah, he retired a few years ago, and I hate that.
Yeah, it makes me feel old.
Clint Eastwood, I don't know, you may have read his last movie.
He's a million years old.
Yeah.
I think he's older than all of them. Yeah.
Oh gosh, he's got to be
Mid-80s, 85, 86,
Yeah.
easy. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much you can act when you're 90.
Unless you're Betty White.
Yeah, right. That's true. Robert Redford didn't take very good care of his
No.
skin. He spent a lot of time in the sun,
Yeah.
and that wasn't so good for him.
So we'll start out long segments. So let's do a little bit. Let's talk about asset depletion a
Okay.
little bit and what that means for people who are trying to get a home loan, but are on a fixed or low income.
Okay. And again, just I know it's kind of hard to remember because you want to just kind of go like that, but then you can't hear it. So you just remember, pretend you're pivoting it, you're glued to this thing, and all you can do is this.
And I'm going to keep this at a pretty high level, right? We're not going to go into details of the formulas and things like that.
No formulas. please.
Yeah, but-
I'm
remember,
just gonna
you don't-
keep people
high
focused.
level.
Yeah, we
yeah.
don't want to put them to sleep. We don't want them to channel surf. We
Yeah.
want to do good radio. So behind the scenes, we can do that. But all right, here we go. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt, president of Pacific Private Money. First trivia question. Two young newspaper reporters, Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, go up against Washington's most powerful men to uncover the truth about the Watergate scandal. Their story is told in an excellent 1976 film, All the President's Men, which two actors portrayed Woodward and Bernstein.
Chris knows that.
Chris knows that.
Dustin Hoffman and Robert Redford.
That is correct. I think one was one and one was the other. Don't know
think
which
that's
one
how
it was. Yeah. All right.
I don't either.
So we have Chris Davis from Guaranteed Rate, a mortgage broker, who's sharing with us. Tell us again specifically about asset depletion.
Right. It's a method for another way of calculating income and ability to repay. Would that be a fair description of what asset depletion is for a mortgage application?
That's 100% what that is. It's really, it enables a customer who oftentimes is retired and needs to have a lot of assets, and we need income to help them qualify to secure a loan of some flavor.
Okay.
And depending on your age, there's a host of different ways to create the income, but it will, in almost all cases, if you have substantial, modest to substantial assets, the formula works.
Let's talk about some of the assets. Would things like jewelry or art or gold, or name some of the, maybe some traditional, and then maybe some like maybe non-traditional or arcane assets that listeners might not realize would fit that.
That's an excellent thing to bring up, because this is purely cash, savings, checking, investable assets like stocks and IRA, 401k type assets.
So it's got to be. So there has to be a modicum of liquidity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It can't be the equity in the home.
It's not going to be jewelry. It's not going to be.
Or equity in the home.
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
Right. So equity in the home doesn't count as asset.
Okay. Because
I remember that as well, being part of the Dodd-Frank.
See, and that was,
regulations.
and that's why we've told a story before how Pacific Private Money was able to help an elderly couple basically buy their next home without selling their current one, even though they didn't quite qualify, because you legally were able to make a special bridge loan product.
Right. Because ability to repay. Fortunately, ability to repay laws are not quite as strong on certain types of short-term bridge loans that we're able to do at Pacific Private Money. So, but still, when we do a loan, every loan we do, we're looking at the ability to they're either going to sell the property. One of two things have to happen. They have to be able to qualify for conventional financing, or they're going to sell one or both of the properties. If we're cross collateralizing, selling at least one of them. So there's still, we still have to do this little dance and this little exercise. And even at Pacific Private Money, if someone calls us up and says, "Hey, I've got a small first, I've got a home worth $1 million, I got $100,000 first, but my wife and I were on fixed income, but can we borrow $200,000-$300,000 because we want to remodel our home to sell it?" And oftentimes the answer is no, we can't. We'd love to make that loan. Yeah. They need it, they want it, they'll benefit from it, and they understand our pricing, but they don't qualify under the ability to repay restrictions.
Maybe you have to give them an 85-year loan or something that amortizes.
Right. And we look for depletion of assets as well. And I'm just really surprised pleasantly to hear from Chris that at Guaranteed Rate, they've got some programs where they can also include asset depletion as a source of income. But it sounds like it does need to be relatively liquid and doesn't include things like art and jewels. And it's funny, I had a friend who likes to collect diamonds and rubies, and we wondered, and a lot of people do things like that, and you could sell those and convert it to cash.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. I thought you were going to bring that into the conversation.
Does Bitcoin included in asset depletion?
It does not.
Really?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Interesting, Mark. So I was going to say that is kind of interesting lead in here. We have an email question for you that comes in and says, how does Pacific Private Money work with mortgage brokers? Interestingly enough, we have a mortgage broker with us. Aren't they competition?
Well, no, we don't at Pacific Private Money. We're an alternative real estate finance provider. We do not compete with conventional mortgage brokers because we don't do conventional mortgages. Now, some private lenders in California do both, and it's kind of hard for them to go out to the mortgage broker network and say, "Hey, send us your client. We won't send it back." not a great pitch. Yeah. But at Pacific Private Money, we have what we call a refer and recapture program, meaning when a mortgage broker refers their client to us because they believed they had them conventionally approved, but something happened along the way, and they're in the middle of a purchase contract, and now it looks like they're not going to be able to provide them financing fast enough. Hey guys, can you help us out? Do you have a bridge loan product that can help close the real estate deal? That's what we promote to realtors and mortgage brokers. We can come in with a very fast closing bridge loan with no prepayment penalty, and the mortgage broker keeps the client, and they get to take out our loan with conventional financing as quickly as they are able to put that together. And we call it our 11-month bridge program because it needs to be less than 1 year in order to be compliant with regulations. But it has no prepayment penalty, and yes, it's more expensive than conventional financing. It's typically 9%, and 2 points is a typical program. But the borrower can pay us back in 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months. It just needs to be in less than a year. And so a lot of mortgage brokers will call us with a client that's trapped in some situation, and they really, really, really want to get that house. And so we're able to come in and rescue.
And they're contractually bound. And I would add, and I would add, we aren't in competition with you. In fact, you're a critical piece of our success when you come in and you put that Band-Aid on that situation. And in short term, I think it's an exceptional value for your company.
Right, and Chris, well, and you're the hero to the client, because if you give the client an option and say, look, I mean, you're looking at potentially losing your deposit. It's not non-refundable.
I can't help you yet.
Yeah.
But,
but if I had, we can fix this in 90 to 120 days. I have a solution for you. It's going to cost a little bit more, but if you really want that property, and you're willing to pay for it, this is an option. We didn't think we would, be in this position, but it happens, and it happens enough. I mean, there's thousands of real estate transactions happening all over California, and things happen. Transactions fall through the cracks. Transactional distress happens, and that's kind of where we fit in. That's our niche at Pacific Private Money, is owner-occupied private money home loans with no prepayment penalty.
I love it.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. I love it.
Tell you what, guys, we've got another 30 seconds before we have to get to another break. So, Mark,
real quick, in the next segment, actually, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that. Any guesses on what the leading city was in price appreciation, according to Case-Shiller, in the month of June?
I can't answer because I could see it.
Bakersfield.
It was Las Vegas, Nevada.
Lost wages.
Remember Las Vegas?
Yeah.
It was the highest appreciating city in the United States in 2005.
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened in 2006 and 7? We'll talk a little bit more about that.
Destruction.
It went up the highest and down the highest.
Well, that's what happened.
History might be repeating itself.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned for new information on that.
Yes.
Okay, here's our second trivia question. Again, the theme is corruption and shadiness in the movies. In this 1973 film, an idealistic policeman fights corruption on the New York police force. It's based on the experience of a real-life officer. Just starting out at the time, the actor played the cop was Al Pacino.
Mm-hmm.
What was the name of this film? All right. You know the answer?
I do.
You do?
I think.
Oh, and Chris, do you know the answer? Don't say it.
I think so.
Oh my goodness. That's because we're all over than older. Yeah. We're all over.
Movie trivia is just part of our gene.
Exactly. It has to be. All right. Don't touch that dial. Call 888-912-1190 to be the first caller with the correct answer to that question. And don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. All right. That's segment number 2.
Serpico.
909.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Serpico.
That was a good one.
I like And Justice for All.
Yeah.
I like that movie.
He doesn't look very good these days.
Who?
Al Pacino looks like he's been drinking too much bourbon.
Yeah, but he dyes his hair.
Yeah.
He's got dark hair and a dark goatee thing going.
Yeah.
He's in his 70s, and it's like I grow a beard and it's like pure white.
Yeah, me too. Unfortunately, I can't grow facial hair anymore. It just gets too white. But I watched a Bogart movie last night called one of the little Florida towns. It's a classic with
Key Lark,
something like that. Something like that. And I did, when I watch movies like that, I always jump online and I do a little research about, the actors, because I'm curious.
Sure.
Yeah. That era of actors lived off cigarettes and bourbon, and Yeah, he died when he was 56.
Yeah,
Bogart.
that's amazing.
Yeah, esophageal cancer.
Yeah.
Boy, that talk about hard living.
That'll do it.
Yeah. No, my grandparents did that. They lived off cigarettes and coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad, he didn't drink, but he smoked, had a bad diet, didn't exercise, was a little bit overweight, and had stress. And he died at 53 and a half.
53 and a half. I thought you were going to say 100.
Nah, I wish. So that would have been fun. All right, you ready? Here we go. Well, welcome back to the Best of Investing one more time. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt of Pacific Private Money. Second trivia question. In this 1973 film, an idealistic policeman fights corruption on the New York police force. It's based on the experiences of a real-life officer. Just starting out at the time, the actor playing the cop was Al Pacino. What was the name of the film?
Chris and I both got that one. Serpico.
Serpico. That is correct.
Absolutely.
All right.
So we're talking a little bit about the Case-Shiller, now called the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Index. I don't know, I keep adding names to that. One of the most popular and most widely followed home price appreciation indexes in the country. It's released at the end of every month, and it's a 60-day lag. So we got this week, the numbers for June 2018 came out, and the three leading cities are Las Vegas, Seattle, and once more, San Francisco.
Really?
Now, San Francisco for a while was at the top of the heap a couple of years back. Then it fell down to like 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. A lot of other cities were leading the pack, and this one has really surprised me. I did not expect San Francisco to come back roaring again with double-digit year-over-year home price appreciation. But the leader for June was Las Vegas at 13%, which we just talked just briefly at the very end of last segment how Las Vegas in 2005 had the highest year-over-year home price appreciation in the nation. It was like 56%. It was some like off the charts number that I don't know has ever been repeated again. And then of course, after the real estate market corrected, fell, crashed, whatever you want to call it, those people who invested in the latter part of the mid 2000s, I should say 04, 05, 06 in Las Vegas, they're just starting to see their money back, assuming they didn't lose the property. But
yeah, because that's when the old story of the waitresses who started buying 3 and 4 houses with liar loans, whatever you want to call them. And they did a lot in Vegas because the prices were pretty cheap.
What I find interesting is that because the S&P, this Case-Shiller index, is a lagging indicator, what we've experienced here in the Bay Area is that we had a pretty decent start to the year. The selling season typically begins end of February, March, April, right around there. And June, I believe, was still a pretty strong month here. But in real time, July, August has been slow. Things have slowed down quite a bit. I know you've heard Patty on the show here in weeks prior say that there's buyer fatigue out there. So it certainly wouldn't surprise me that this lagging indicator is going to show that home prices overall are starting to slow down. I would expect to see these numbers slow down a bit. And I've got an article here from ATTOM Data Solutions. It's the Housing Wire that they put out regularly. Leading article, I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, 11-page article about recession fears rising. How will housing hold up? And there's some nuggets in here that I just wanted to share with you. One of them being that they interviewed, among other people, Bruce Norris, who's one of the most respected California real estate investors. He was one of the few people who called correctly the recession at the end of 2006. In fact, he is known for having sold off his entire real estate portfolio when people were saying he was, what are you, nuts? And he says he feels that there will be a recession sometime starting late 2019, early 2020. And what's interesting is, he's looking out about, 18 months, which is 18 months to 2 years. That's about where people tend to feel comfortable.
But is he selling though?
No, he's not. And that's what's, he said that in 2006, he saw what was coming and they sold off their California holdings and warned other investors it would be wise to do the same, for which he was roundly ridiculed. But he says with the potential recession now on the horizon, no such fear for wide price declines exist, according to him. He does not feel that real estate prices will take a huge hit for 3 reasons.
Okay.
First, he says for the last 8 years, buyers have had to really qualify for their loans they've obtained.
That's what I was going to
We don't have any
absolutely.
crazy loan programs. Second, prices in California have doubled since 2008. But during that boom, people have not been treating their homes like an ATM.
Gotcha.
So there's trillions and trillions of dollars worth of equity in those homes. And so that is going to help hold up prices, because there won't be forced sales and issues around foreclosures.
They sound like people are leveraged to the hilt.
Right, they're not leveraged to the hilt.
Yeah,
And they really have to qualify.
Right.
That to me is the biggest one.
Yeah, and then third, which I thought this third one I thought was interesting. He said lenders have taught borrowers a new methodology of handling delinquencies, and instead of filing foreclosure right away, most lenders today are bending over backwards to avoid taking the asset back via foreclosure. And so that's just so. In other words, workouts are a lot more common
They should
nowadays.
have been doing that back in 2005, 6, 7, whatever, 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Now, there's a little funny quote in here. They did interview Ray Dalio, chief investment officer for. Oh no, I'm sorry, it was wrong quote there. Lloyd Blankfein, CEO of Goldman Sachs. His short quote was, "What could possibly go wrong? I haven't felt this good since 2006." But looking forward, if there's a recession, this is at the kind of the summary of the article. And there's a lot of great information in here. I'm going to really study this, and in coming shows I'll share some more from nuggets from this. But looking forward, if there's a recession, it won't be because of the housing sector. Is the kind of the summary of this article. They think that the underlying foundations for housing in the U.S. market and the California market are strong. It seems likely, they say, that a recession will emerge from something else. And another point they make in this is in most recessions over the last 40 years, real estate prices actually did not decline substantially. It's only in the most recent recession, which of course we all still are.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah, over the last 40 years. So real estate. The real estate cycle doesn't always follow the economic cycle.
Well, we had a fairly good recession in 1990 and 91, and prices dropped, but not that significant. Nothing near.
And they dropped differently in different sectors. Commercial dropped quite a bit back then, I know, but certain housing sectors did not. So again, I read this article, and it actually makes me feel a little bit better, because I did go to an event this past week. And someone who claims to have a tremendous amount of credibility in predicting market cycles using, and I'm going to probably say this wrong, Fibonacci numbers?
That's Italian for what? I don't know.
Fib isn't really a good part of that.
Yeah. Anyway, he believes that he has charted accurately price declines over the last 50 years, and he says the next recession will be actually in 4 years, in 2022, at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023. But he sees another very severe downturn. And he didn't say based on what. He based it just simply on the charts and these numbers that tend to repeat themselves historically since the 1800s. And I have a hard time believing that fundamentals don't come into play, that it's simply it's just the way.
Well, let me tell you something about charts, because I used to do that for stocks. And they're really good about looking past and saying, this is
making sense of what happened.
But then going forward, the thing is, you have to follow it, and it changes. So you could do it on a day-by-day basis. It's sort of like saying the weather, right? It's like, it's going to be sunny tomorrow, but as it starts to get darker, you say, no, it's going to rain. Oh no, it's now changing such and such. And then so I like charts, but they're really good at showing what happened over the last 6 months or a year.
I'd rather listen to the economists and real estate investors who accurately call the last recession, not the guys who look backwards and go, "Hey, my chart called this." Well,
yeah, exactly.
Did you warn anybody in advance?
Thank you.
No.
Well, so many of the financing instruments that got us into that trouble last time
They don't exist.
They're not
That's
around
exactly
anymore.
right.
All right, guys, last trivia question here. This film, based on actual events, is about some shady behavior on the part of a public utility company. Their carelessness was poisoned, had poisoned the residents of a small California town, and they were trying to cover it up. Along comes a feisty young single woman who goes on to uncover the truth and obtain justice for the families. What film is that? Don't touch that down. We'll be right back.
I'm going to go 3 for 3.
You are?
Come on, that's an easy one too, right?
Yeah.
Serpico was a grab it, but
Serpico,
Aaron Brockovich, that's
yeah,
two. That's
too
two.
good.
Oh,
Aaron
man.
Brockovich. She was in the paper today,
Was she?
and she's still
She's
well, at
still a
least
very active lobbyist. Right?
she is, and her photos, she still looks
She looks good.
Pretty good.
looks youngish. I
She's
know.
impressive.
Blonde.
She actually looks better than Julia Roberts herself,
yeah.
PG&E. The Death Star of utility.
Yeah.
The Death Star.
And we want to definitely talk about the fund. And the
So
event.
are we going to another 948, right? So,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got another fun one, which is the
Okay.
um,
the
four home
yeah.
improvements that surprisingly don't have
That'll be
value.
fine.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Chat about that.
I bet I know.
I know one of them's got to be a swimming pool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is the other one a bidet? No. I thought, what a fun toilet this is.
Oh my God. A water faucet.
I'll shoot this over. I've got it up on my computer. I'll shoot you a copy of this
Yeah.
tomorrow. It's just it's interesting.
It is interesting.
It's well written and well researched. So and it doesn't seem to be hear no evil, see no evil. No, everything's great. They're not making land anymore. Oh, we're never going to go down.
All right, ready?
Yes.
There we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Edward Brown here along with Mark Hanf and our special guest, Chris Davis. Third trivia question. In the year 1215, I fooled you guys. You guys thought I was going to come up with something different. Wait, that wasn't the question. The answer was Magna Carta. But anyway, okay, this film, based on actual events, is about some shady behavior on the part of a utility company, public utility company. Their carelessness has poisoned the residents of a small California town, and they're trying to cover it up. Along comes a feisty young single mom who goes on to uncover the truth and obtain justice for the families. Which movie is it?
Chris knows that. We both got that. 3
Aaron
for 3.
Brockovich.
Aaron
I can't
Brockovich.
believe. I don't think I've ever been 3 for 3, Edward.
Well, I like to kind of
8
boost your.
years we've been doing the show together. I don't think I've ever been 3 for 3.
I wanted to boost your
I
confidence.
thought you were going to pull like a ringer out of your back pocket and
I started to, but then
because I
cut
had
it.
2 out of 3.
Yeah.
You weren't going to let me get 3 out of 3.
You know what? I'm gonna have to do that next time. I'm gonna have extra trivia questions just in case. So have you go just like homework. All right, Mark, share with us about these improvements that don't add value.
Well, we got a little, just a short fun article here. 4 home improvements that surprisingly don't add value. And this is relevant because, there's a lot of upside in American housing today because of our aging housing stock. And a lot of people are remodeling their homes for resale or just remodeling them just because they want to. But you should know which home remodels and home improvements.
I'm going to guess the first one, a chicken coop.
Definitely won't add value, even if
okay.
you build it really well. You did guess the first one. I think was
Swimming
pretty
pool.
Swimming pool.
There
Yes,
you go.
swimming
Yeah,
pools
that's well done.
typically do not add value, but not only swimming pools, but tricked out backyards in general. You can really go
yeah.
crazy. I know this because I'm living in a home right now where we have yet to do our backyard, and I'm thinking, well, we might sell in the next couple of years. Maybe we'll just leave it unimproved
Yeah.
for the next person to do their dream backyard, because no matter what, you could spend 100 to 200 grand easily, not even doing it without a pool
Sure.
on a
Well,
modest sized backyard.
But I guess I would, being your friend, I would advise probably talking to a specialist in the area, because there's probably you can maybe put like $5,000 or $10,000 in.
Yeah.
That'll get you 60 or 70,000 more than the way it looks now. And I'm not saying it looks bad, but you know what I mean. There's probably
You don't like my
minimal-
weeds?
Well, I think a front yard is first impression, but I think
Exactly.
a backyard, a lot of spec builders or developers that build houses to sell, or they often will not do a backyard.
Right, they'll leave it for the person to do whatever. Right,
Which
it's
is
hard to guess what people want in a backyard, and it depends. Do they have kids? Do they not have kids? Do they want to do outdoor living? Do they really live in their home and never go out in the backyard?
but you also have to assume that some people don't have enough of a vision.
Yes.
Then they're going to go, the backyard's not done. It's going to cost me X, and so they're thinking that whatever you're asking for the house is overpriced.
It could be. So
Okay.
number one was swimming pools. Number two is tricked out backyards.
Okay.
Number three, this surprised me a little bit. Wine cellars. Wine
guess
cellars
it
don't
depends on
typically boost the value.
There's a
So,
lot of
It
non-wine drinkers.
certainly wouldn't hurt them, but
Yeah.
not everybody's a wine drinker.
Unless you're in St. Helena, but go ahead.
And then
Yeah.
fourth, last but not least, is an overall category called system upgrades. So in other words, you
Like
replace your
Wi-Fi.
water heater, or you
Yeah.
replace the piping. I got new copper all the way to the street, or
Gotcha,
wiring.
yeah.
Now, certain things, like if you do Cat 5 all the way throughout, or do home automation, I think
Yeah.
that's different. I think that does add value. But just the point of the article was, if it's not broke, don't fix it, because when like an aging water heater, you can get most home purchases now come with a home warranty anyway. So if the water heater breaks in the first year, you can get it replaced by the insurance policy. So don't go crazy on upgrading things that you can't see and are kind of
Okay, so typical
contiguous to the
though,
property.
on the flip side, kitchens and bathrooms are the big ones.
That's sure.
Yeah,
You said
yeah.
something that really resonated with me. You said what you can't see, and I think everything under the hood.
Although you
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
see Wi-Fi, that's even
Yeah.
good. Although that, I mean, stuff like that, you can go to Best Buy and buy just about any kind of plug-in nowadays. So I don't know that having
Yeah.
great Wi-Fi necessarily. I got really good Wi-Fi, I get an extra $100,000 for my house.
Yeah, that's a good point, because there's some places that just Wi-Fi is just not very good in general. But how do you? I mean, if you go to a place that doesn't have good Wi-Fi in general, can you invent it?
Well, they have the Wi-Fi mesh systems now, where you triangulate 2 or 3 different Wi-Fi units in a large home, and it actually creates a what they call a mesh network.
Really?
It's clever technology.
So
It's just emerging right
I shouldn't splice off my neighbors anymore?
Probably.
Okay.
Don't want to hijack that anymore.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, home Wi-Fi, I learned before it became, learning the hard way, that, there was an article about a neighbor that got in trouble because their Wi-Fi wasn't protected by a password, and some neighbor, I think it was a underage neighbor, was looking at the wrong kind of pornography.
Oh boy.
The wrong kind of pornography, the wrong kind of websites.
The wrong kind of websites. Yeah.
Everything about that
and
statement
it's bad
sounds
pornography.
wrong.
Right.
I know what you meant.
But they were investigated because it was originating from their Wi-Fi system. There were legal issues that came about as a result. So if you don't have a password protected Wi-Fi, do not leave your home Wi-Fi open.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, you should do that in
convenient.
general.
But just know that when anybody comes over, and then they have to ask, hey, what's your home Wi-Fi password? But everyone's home Wi-Fi should be password protected. You do not want to have a rogue neighbor piggybacking off your Wi-Fi and doing something they shouldn't be doing online.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Mark, explain a little bit about Pacific Private Money. Give us a deal of the week.
Absolutely. So Pacific Private Money, we're an alternative real estate finance provider, meaning we're, in the old days, they called it hard money. In the more recent days, they call it private money. It's also called alternative financing, marketplace lending, peer-to-peer lending. It's all kinds of names of it now. And some of those companies like ours are online only. We're both. We're online, but we also have a brick and mortar in downtown Novato and Marin County. And we've been in business for 10 years. In fact, August is like 3 anniversaries. It's the 10-year anniversary of the company. We started our first loans in August of 2008. It's the 5-year anniversary plus 1 month of the Pacific Private Money Fund, which I'll talk about in a second. And it's the 8-year anniversary of the Best of Investing.
There you go.
How many shows is that? 8 times 52.
52.
Yeah.
That's
Over
plenty.
400 shows. Oh my God.
I think I've lost.
How much
some
can you
of it.
talk about money?
I know, exactly.
Well, you wonderful listeners, those of you who've listened a lot, you know that we can tend to get a little bit repetitive. I mean, there's only so many things to brag about what we do at Pacific Private Money, but we're going to do so anyway. So we make loans, mostly short-term real estate loans to people in need. Usually it's a transactional distress. Usually bank financing either is not an option because of speed or is no longer an option because something happened during the process and they need a plan B, and that's what we exist for. And Pacific Private Money is one of the few private money real estate lenders that will do owner-occupied financing. That is our niche. We've been doing it for 5 years. We do it really well, and we're licensed to do it appropriately. And some of you listening may have heard, if you have ever gotten into a conversation with someone who's in the hard money or private money lending practice, they may have said, oh, well, it's illegal to do a private money loan on an owner-occupied residence. Not true. You just have to be appropriately licensed, and that, of course, is their lazy way of saying, you know, we didn't want to invest the time and technology into being able to do that right. So that's, you know, that's the borrowing side of it. On the investing side, every single loan we've made in the last 10 years, which is over 1,500 loans totaling nearly $500 million, all mostly in California, have been made with private capital.
With no losses.
Right.
That's the important thing.
Those 1,500 loans, we have never lost principal. In fact, we've made all of the principal and the promised interest on every single loan to date. Knock on wood.
That's impressive.
And there's 3 ways to invest with companies like ours, and ours in particular. 3 ways to invest. You can invest in whole loans, which is also known as trust deed investing, where you're investing in the entire note. You can invest in fractional loans. We do a lot of fractional investing where 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 folks might share. And then we also do managed funds, the Pacific Private Money Fund, which has been paying 7.8% on a trailing 12 basis. And for more information, go to pacificprivatemoney.com, pacificprivatemoney.com.
Tell you what, stay with us. We're going to be right back with some closing comments. Okay. Yeah, perfect. Right on the money.
I started late.
You have some good radio mojo. You sound good.
Thanks. It's
Over time.
400 shows.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, before Edward and I met, and it was actually the story of us ending up on the radio show, is just this really circuitous, a lot of coincidental happenings. But I first did radio with this guy who called me out of the blue, and he was doing rock roll and real estate, and I forget on which station it was, out of San Francisco, with I can't remember any, Les Israelone, that was the guy's name. And he was charging he was out selling 8-minute spots, and he would get like 5 different people, and each 8-minute spot was $1,000 per week. And stupidly, I agreed to do, because I was looking for any way to invest. I thought he was saying rock roll and real estate is this, really popular radio show, and you're going to get a lot of business, and $1,000 a week for a 12-week contract. So I ended up doing 10 weeks of the 12-week contract at $1,000 a week. And that was my first foray into radio. I got the whole 8 minutes to talk about it. But
Did you get ROI?
But the first, no, I didn't. But the first show, he invited me to the studio to do it live, and it was terrible.
Well, yeah, you guys polished it up.
Yeah.
Good.
So thank you.
That sounds good.
And deal of the week. Gosh, let's see. What have we done lately? That would be kind of on the spot. I'm not thinking of.
Let's see. There's I'm trying to think of.
We've had a lot of them close recently.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Just thinking of. Got to go to my list.
Google.
Yeah, no, not Google. Google. Let's see.
What have we done? I'm trying to think of a good story, of an interesting story. We're doing a foreign national right now. We just green lighted it.
Okay,
I can do that one.
that's a good one. Yeah, because
That's
that's
some meat on the bone.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Then we'll want to make sure people get a hold of you too.
That's fine.
Right, I'll do it. It'll be a quick one, and then we'll ask.
I'm enjoying myself.
Chris to share
I
his
don't
contact
need
information.
Yes. You guys ready?
Yep.
Close this out. Got 5 minutes, 10 seconds. Ready? Go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Humph of Pacific Private Money and our special guest, Chris Davis of Guaranteed Rate Mortgage Company. Mark, you've got a deal of the week to share.
Well, we just did one that is with a foreign national, and so that's a breed of borrower that oftentimes has trouble finding a bank or conventional lender to close with. Again, sometimes if they have enough time and they can provide enough information to a bank or conventional lender, they can actually get long-term low-rate financing. But in a purchase situation, it's often not the case, which is why we do quite a few every year of loans like this. We also do things like probate or divorce, where couples are getting divorced and now they got to buy another house because the husband's moving out. But banks oftentimes, they don't like that kind of funny business. They like everything to be just real simple and down the line. And with foreign nationals, what's the challenge is oftentimes their income is hard to nail down. And that was the challenge with this gentleman who needed a purchase money bridge loan, short term, to buy a home in San Francisco. And he is a foreign national, Russian, and he provided his tax returns, his bank statements, all kinds of stuff. And all of that information notwithstanding, he couldn't get a bank interested in providing him a loan quick enough to be able to compete in the Bay Area marketplace. So that was a deal that we just greenlighted this week. We haven't closed it yet, but we're very confident, given our abilities and track record, that he will not be the first person left at the altar, because we've never left anyone at the altar.
What's the loan to value?
This one is 65%, so we're comfortable with the loan to value. We're comfortable with the marketplace. We're actually comfortable with his tax returns. We actually read them pretty carefully, and he's got a C Corp and that he provided the tax returns for, and his personal return as well. And he also was very forthcoming with his financial and personal information, which I tell you is kind of interesting. Oftentimes borrowers like to not be forthcoming. They just want to give you the least amount of information possible. Oftentimes even saying things like, "Well, I thought this was hard money," meaning
they're not helping.
I shouldn't have to give you any information. It's just
hard money, yes. Stupid money, no.
Right. Hard money, yes. Stupid money, no. And hard money doesn't exist today like it did 15 years ago. It is a regulated industry, and that's for the good. It's a much different, it's legitimatized. Dodd-Frank legitimatized those private money companies that survived, that didn't end up crashing and burning as well, because many of them did at the turn of the last market. So before we go, we want to give Chris an opportunity to share a little bit of information about how you can get a hold of him at Guaranteed Rate Mortgage, because he has access to some interesting loan programs, things like loan programs that will allow you to use more than one home as collateral, also known as cross-collateralization. I will tell you that that's actually fairly rare in conventional financing, to be able to do cross-collateralized transactions. And then we did the old asset depletion conversation, where you could use other cash assets to qualify for your ability to repay. Any final words, and how do we get a hold of you, Chris?
I just want to say you guys are a pleasure to listen to. It's fun to be in the studio with you today. I'm easy to find.
Mesmerizing.
It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, the internet is such a vehicle for anything anymore. I'm so easy to find. I'm in San Anselmo. I'm on Sir Francis Drake.
What's your phone number?
Phone number is 415-307-0277.
Okay.
My email, chris.davis@rate.com.
Oh,
Rate.com.
My name is pretty easy, I think, right?
Davis,
and then rate.com/Chris Davis.
Very good. Mark, quickly before we go.
PacificPrivateMoney.com, 415-883-2150 for information about short-term bridge loans, or how you can earn 7.8% and more on your invested capital, your real estate holdings, and your IRA money.
Very good. All right, here's our thoughts for the day. Every great achievement was once considered impossible, and your past mistakes are meant to guide you, not define you. Isn't that nice? Tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away more free prizes for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best of investing. So long. Good.
I'm looking at that. It's really there.
I know.
You guys are characters. That was really fun to listen to you too.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me into your
Absolutely.
your party.
Good job.
And I thought,
Thank
gosh,
you for inviting me to your.
And,
mind if we dance with your date?
yeah, no, we mind if we dance with your dates? Yeah.
Sorry, I messed up your back plan for party.
That's awesome.
So again, this will be on. Actually, you know what? You can listen to it if you. There's Saturday at noon on 1220 on the dial.
Yeah.
They're
I don't know if
also
I can
going
do it in Tahoe, though.
well, you may not be able to, but Sunday morning.
Well,
It'll also play at 7
or
a.m.
live streaming on the app or on the.
Oh yeah,
But I
sure.
might be able to find it online, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. If you go to KDOW,
It does, yeah.
live streaming, sure.
KDOW 1220. If you Google it, you'll end up
Yeah.
at the website, and there's a listen online.
And then Sunday at 7 a.m. it'll replay, same show. Sunday at 7 a.m. on KDOW and KTRB, The Answer, 860.
And investing in your fund, 7.8% return. is-
Right now, yeah, it was around 8% before, and headed around 7.8. It changes, that part changes every month, but the
Sure.
principal stays the same. Very important.
Yeah.
I always tell Mark, don't lose money. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
So you have my card,
Yeah.
right?
I
And
know how to
so,
reach you guys.
yeah, this would be good. I can imagine.
Why don't you give me a little stack, in fact, because you know who I do a lot of deals with is Eric Gelman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know
Eric.
Know of him.
Yeah. Well, if you live around here, and I'm sure you've had a plethora of postcards from him.
Yes.
But I think he is somebody that you guys should collaborate with too, because he touches every time we run into a deal together and it's sideways.
Mhm.
We need to bring you guys into the fold.
Absolutely.
Eric Gelman.
Which company is he with?
He is now Compass. Compass bought
Compass.
Paragon.
Oh, that's right.
Right. That's right. Yeah,
He does
my
a
database.
lot of business, and
Yeah.
he'll be a good resource too.
We're in San Anselmo. Do you live in San Anselmo or
I
just
do.
work?
I do.
They're great.
I'm right on. It's such a funny story. I grew up a Napa redneck. Finished school, moved to San Francisco, met my wife, and I often tell my customers, we swim upstream to Marin and spawn.
It's
And
That's good.
yeah, and
up
so
San Anselmo Creek.
and so we bought our house in 04 over, Morningside,
Yeah, I know
where
Morningside.
Broadmoor is,
Yep.
that stoplight and you dead ends.
Yep.
I'm right up on the hill there.
Oh, I grew up in San Anselmo, went to Drake High.
Okay, well my
She
kids
lived
are
in
my kids
Sleepy
are gonna be
Hollow.
there. Yeah,
That's my dad built homes in Sleepy Hollow back in the
so the ranch is.
yeah. Lots of ranches. Yeah,
That's a nice neighborhood, man.
It
So
is,
I'm
yeah,
really
overpriced.
close. I'm right Indian Rock, right there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my office, there was a time, 15, 20 years ago, I was doing a lot of new construction high rises in San Francisco, South of Market. And I was dropping my kids off at daycare at 9, and I'd get to my office at 10 and, work a full day, leave the office at 6:30, come home 7:38. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
So I moved my office. I moved in right there in Corte Madera,
Yeah.
and then I moved my office in San Anselmo. And if I wasn't bringing my dogs, my bulldogs who can't walk more than 50 feet at a time, in fact, you remember that.
I do.
Cute
dogs.
I drive to my office. It's 1.7 miles. And that is,
I know. I live 1.5 miles from here.
it's brilliant. I mean,
Yeah.
the 2 hours that you get back of your life every day
Yeah.
is so important.
And also sometimes
Yeah,
you have to run to the office.
Commuting is awesome.
Yeah, you're
I live and work in the
Actually,
office.
Perfect.
You've been,
Well, we all figured it out,
Yeah,
Gentlemen, it was an honor and pleasure.
Good.
Thank you for including me today.
absolutely.
I'm gonna get out of here before my car gets towed.
Oh yeah.
Oh
You're
yeah.
fine.
If I park. I don't know if you park in the garage or out in the street.
Well, I was hesitant to park in the garage because I've got a cargo box. So I thought,
Yeah.
so I parked
Oh,
right here
gotcha.
next to the building, and then I realized it was the street scene thing tonight.
Yeah.
And
Oh, right.
they're
You gotta
Nazis
go.
about that.
Yeah.
So,
Go get your car.
yeah, gentlemen,
All right.
All
I'll
right.
talk to you real soon.
Very good.
Yes, good
Thanks,
to meet
Chris.
you.
Yeah, have a good holiday weekend.
Thanks.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you guys punching in tomorrow?
A little bit
yeah.
weekday.
Yeah, I'm heading up to Tahoe tomorrow morning. I'll be working up there, but my kids are gonna come up, so.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, friends, take it easy.
See ya.
Very good. All right. So you're busy tomorrow. Nom and I are going to go.
Yeah, go to Coop.
Coop. Yes,
Coopville.
we're going to Coop. Actually, Friday traffic probably wouldn't be bad because
Oh,
already-
it'll be get out of town, but I think it's going to be going in different directions. So you might,
Yeah.
on the way back, might be a little bit. Well, check the Goog and see if, because you might want to go 280 and not 880.
Yeah. I was surprised at going to Petaluma last night.
Yeah.
Hardly any traffic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've gone to north of Novato once in the last year without hitting traffic.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was
Almost every
really
day.
pleasantly
Well, it is
surprised.
every day, depending on the time of day. But even like on Saturday or Sunday at noon, forget it. It's like
Yeah, I
walking
know.
out there.
I know. Even on the weekends,
It's weird.
and yeah, kind of crazy.
Weird. Michael Ryan, discover the sweet taste of success.
Oh, that's
Michael Ryan.
You know him?
Yeah, he's a really annoying mortgage broker. He sends his newsletter is letters from my heart.
Oh,
He's
excellent.
he's syrupy, gaggy, like. He used to send me deals, but now I think he sends them to somebody else who pays him a bigger spiff.
Well, the reason I have that is because I have the Post-it note where I actually have the article in print that I have rather than just the typical online stuff. So I figured I just kind of hold on to that.
I mean, I should
All right.
really badmouth him. He's nothing wrong with him. He's just a real
Okay.
sappy kind of.
Okay.
All right.
And then you'll be okay for September 20th at the house?
Yes.
Do a Friday after?
It's on the calendar. Yes, indeed. We're gonna grease
Excellent.
up.
Excellent, Tito. All right. If I don't talk to you, have a nice. Oh, you're going to the Sausalito Art Festival, aren't you?
Yeah. It's Lisa's birthday
Oh, yeah.
weekend. Saturday's her birthday. I'm trying to convince her let's go to the Sausalito Art Festival. She has a hard time. Her birthday is 2 weeks after her mother passed away. 30 years ago now, and it just and her favorite aunt passed away, was killed by a drunk driver in August. So August for her is a depressing month, and so that's part of why she's not really into celebrating her birthday. She just never feels
So she wouldn't-
psychologically up for it. So she goes, I'm not coming into the office this week, so I don't want anybody to wish me a happy birthday.
So we're not allowed to take you guys out for a birthday,
No, not really. Well, this weekend we're just going to really relax, and then I'm out of town with Sean next week. We'll fly out Tuesday, so we're gonna do Sausalito Art Festival one day, go to Stinson Beach one day,